Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Today's program, we'll have JC here in just a minute on the Titan MR hotline. We'll be joined in the second portion of today's show. Former Gator baseball player, now baseball radio analyst with Cardozo, Eric Castaldo, who's also a surgeon in town. You know, most of us athletes become surgeons when we're done playing. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about his career and about Gator baseball. Big series starting tomorrow against the Hogs of Arkansas. But first, let's head on over to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Bum Phillips. No, it's JC. He's got his Houston Oilers. Houston Oilers
number one.
Love you blue, baby.
Yeah, man. Love you blue. Yeah. In protest of high oil prices, I am now wearing my Houston Oilers hat until they start going down. Listen,
you could be wearing that for a while, though, right?
I'll be wearing it for at least another 3 years, I guess. But anyway, so look, QB, you know, the Astrodome, by the way, has never been destroyed. It's right there next to Reliance Stadium.
I think they still have events in there.
They probably do, yeah. Never been in it, but they used to call it the eighth wonder of the world, and it's considered now. It would be considered a very small arena, a small stadium with a roof on it. But I tell you, some of these optional training camps have started for some of these NFL teams. Some of these, the rookies are out there running around, so that's good. The Dolphins, who, by the way, stole the Houston Oilers song. Although they would argue that. Well, they would argue that the Dolphins.
Maybe Dolphin fans will chime in on that.
It's Miami Dolphins.
I didn't know they had a song.
Dolphins number one. Yeah, it's got the same tune, almost the same words, just a different team. And then, of course, QB, we've got Kiowa Island coming tomorrow, and the PGA Championship. And the PGA was somewhat of the most overlooked of the four majors back when it was in August. But I'll tell you, some of the most exciting tournaments or major finishes on a Sunday would happen at the PGA Championship. And the PGA Championship also represented many players' first win on tour as a major champion. Keegan Bradley, I think Vijay Singh won his first major at the PGA. Could be wrong about that. But let's see, a couple of other guys. Who did Keegan? The Auburn guy. Damn it, what's his name? You know.
The guy he doesn't.
Jason Duffner.
Duffner, yeah.
Duffner won his first major at the PGA. I want to say Justin Thomas won his first major at the PGA. So anyway, it's a great tournament. I think we could be looking at a very some difficult conditions. There's a lot of wind on the East Coast. There has been for a couple of days now. And man, if the wind kicks up at Kiowa Island, that ball could be all over the place, QB.
Yeah, it could. And we'll talk later in the show. Before we let you go, we'll get our Peachland Industry golf picks.
All right.
John wants to know here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. QB, are we adding the softball regionals to the Peachland Industry picks?
Oh, it's great question.
We could do that. I don't have the brackets, but Jason,
I do
pull up the brackets.
I have the brackets.
I'm going to go ahead and say the Gainesville regional. I know who I'm picking.
No, I have the brackets, QB.
We will. We appreciate John chiming in on that. I got a couple of texts, JC, that I haven't shared, and I've been meaning to share them. And it's on the Titan MR text line, and it doesn't tell me who it's from, but I'm going to read a couple of them. He goes, "I love you and your show, but JC and the Bama talk gets a little annoying. It's over and over." Okay. He also says, and this is from yesterday's show, I was on with Buddy, and we were talking. Buddy brought up, with Gus Malzahn, with Manny Diaz, with Florida State. He was talking about from I can't remember, marketing standpoint, is Florida kind of not getting overshadowed, but it's some of the lackluster leaving the University of Florida. I told him he's crazy as hell.
Well,
And we started talking about how I got into the whole admissions to the University of Florida, how there's so many, why the student section sucks, because none of those kids the kids that grew up going to Gator games are either at UCF or in Tallahassee at FSU or at USF. And basically I said about 70 to 80% of the student population at UCF are probably Gator fans more than they are Knight fans.
Mm.
And so this whoever this gentleman is, or it could be a female, says saying that 70 to 80% of the UCF students are Florida fans. Come on, Shane, you're totally wrong. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but would you agree that majority of those kids that are UCF students, they either root for Florida or Florida State more than they do UCF?
Yeah, it could be. I don't really know the demographic trends of what kids like these days anymore sometimes because of social media and so forth. I would say there's a chance maybe, but I would still say that the majority of UCF students would rather root for their school's teams.
Here's my point, JC. My point is it goes back to the majority of the students that are at UCF wanted to be students at the University of Florida.
Oh, I don't know that. I have no way of knowing that.
Well, I do, because
how do you know that?
How many kids do you know that tried to go to school at Florida but were denied for whatever reason?
Well, in Gainesville, you would find that to be the case, certainly. But I don't know if the trends.
Well, I disagree with you too, because I had 2 calls from 2 very established businessmen, one in Jacksonville, one in Atlanta yesterday, calling me to see what I knew or what I could do to help their kids who have, 1400s on the SAT and 4.4s. One goes to the whole school, and they are denying these kids.
Why don't you have the admissions office on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning? Just get the answer.
Well, again, like I said, when you go through the student union at the University of Florida on a game day, when I said there's from a pitching wedge to the stadium, and you got kids in there studying, it's because they have no ties to the University of Florida, is my point.
Well, look, QB, I think kids these days are just different than they were when you played and when I went to school. Because
I disagree with that. Because the kids that grew up coming to the swamp are not getting in school. So, the kids that are here are totally different because they're from other countries and they're from out of state and, whatever. But this gentleman also said the Gators are losing recruiting edges to the other Florida schools. I totally disagree with that.
Well, what's his basis based on?
I have no idea.
Okay, well that's okay. Everybody can just throw out something on Twitter or on text on the text line there on the Titan MRI text line, and anything can come out. QB, as far as the Bama talk being annoying, look, they just won the SEC softball championship.
I know. Don't worry about it. That's your alma mater.
Why are people annoyed?
I'm not. I'm annoyed because right here, Nat says. He's right. Every UCF grad I know is a Gator fan. Yeah. Here Sandy says, my nephew was denied by UF with a 4.9. Now they're at FSU. It's a fact, people.
I have 2 nephews. Fact. I have 2 nephews who graduated from UCF. They don't care about the Gators.
Well, do they care about UCF?
Yeah.
No, they don't.
What are you talking about? Yes, they do. They graduate from UCF. One of them went to a fraternity. The other one, I think.
What does that have to do with?
I'm just saying they love their schools.
I'm just telling you. You poll any kid that wanted to go to the University of Florida, or even for Alabama. I don't know what. I mean, Alabama takes a lot of people to their school. I mean, they'll let anybody in there.
Okay,
it's true.
All right.
That is true.
Sure.
That is so true.
Okay, all of a sudden now we've got an expert on college admissions here on Pot Up with. Why don't we call this Pot Up with the expert of college admissions in the morning, Shay Matthews? You're not a former quarterback. You're now a provost. All right. That's
let me tell you something. There's a name on the side of that big ass football stadium that grandchild was not admitted to the university. Okay, you tell me something was wrong right there.
Well, I don't think they cared about that. They care about. Well, maybe they are a bunch of dummies. They could be a bunch of dummies. All right. Well, I haven't given this topic much thought at all, QB. I'm sorry to say.
I mean, because it's not your school.
It is. I went to school here. I grew up here. I went to football games at Florida Field a hell of a lot sooner than you did. I went to more football games at Florida Field growing up than you did.
You've been to way more games than I have. You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
I saw the Gators in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, what are you talking about? Hell, I grew up here. I saw the Gators. My dad was a tenured professor for 45 years at this institution. Well, I spent 2 years of my life.
I will argue with anyone who wants to argue with me about the admissions to this school.
Well, you better back that up with some facts, because right now I have facts.
JC,
what? Some guy who said his grandkids?
No, not some guy. I'm talking admissions. I said it yesterday. Your kid graduated in the Cambridge program, which is outstanding. When you have two kids that have full rides academically to Harvard and Yale and don't even get a sniff to the University of Florida, something's wrong.
Well, then get the admissions people on here and ask them.
Yeah. Well, they want out-of-state tuition and they want international students that's why the student section sucks. Bottom line. Okay, enough of that. JC, so
sounds like you got a leadership issue at UF.
No, it's an admissions problem.
Well, I know, but you're talking about people who are making decisions, and those are the leaders of
Well, like
the school.
I told you, I have two people yesterday out of the blue, hadn't talked to them in a year.
Yeah.
Extremely wealthy businessmen who have extremely smart kids.
Yeah.
That are not getting in, and they want me to see what I can do.
I had one that didn't get in who got a Cambridge certificate, and then one who didn't get a Cambridge certificate that did get in.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It almost sounds like it's a lottery. I have no idea, though. Hockey last night. QB Andre Vasilevsky, 33 saves for the Tampa Bay Lightning. You're defending Stanley Cup champions, and they beat the Florida Panthers 3-1. They lead the series, best out of 7 series, 2-0. And that is a tough series because Florida and Tampa have this little rivalry, but it has been dominated by the Lightning here of late. Steven Stamkos, who did not play much in the playoff bubble last year, did get a goal for Tampa Bay last night. So it's good to see him kind of, contribute points wise. But Vasilevsky was the big story last night for the Tampa Bay Lightning. In the other games, let's see if I can pull this up here. The Islanders lost to the Penguins, so the Penguins are tied 1-1 with New York. That game was in Pittsburgh. And the Golden Knights beat the Minnesota Wild 3-1. And that series is tied 1-1. Tonight, Washington and Boston play. Nashville and Carolina play. Carolina, by the way, with 12,000 fans in that arena, PNC Arena in Raleigh, where the North Carolina State Wolfpack play their college games. The Carolina Hurricanes share that arena and play their hockey games there. Edmonton Oilers and Jets haven't played yet. The Blues in Colorado. Colorado is the considered favorite in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. They had the best record during the season. Colorado won their first game. They're up 1-0. They play the Blues, who won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago. They play the Blues in Denver tonight at Pepsi Center. So refresh your
vehicle in your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. Made your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane, receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC on the Titan More Hotline, we'll be joined by Gator baseball analyst and former player Eric Castaldo in the second portion of today's show. Okay, yeah. I know we got all these listeners chiming in about UF admissions.
Oh, look what you started now. Look what you started now.
So, but last night, the NBA playoffs started with their play-in tournament games.
Okay.
I need somebody to explain to me. So the Pacers win 144-117 over the Hornets.
Yeah.
And the Celtics beat the Wizards 118-100.
Okay.
My question is, and tonight, did you know the Lakers are in the play-in tournament?
Yeah, they play the Warriors tonight.
Right. So my question, if you lose, are you out, or is it like double elimination?
Yeah.
I need somebody to explain to me what the NBA's got going on.
Full disclosure here, folks, I don't know about the NBA. I don't watch it much. So maybe I should if I want to learn more about it, but that's also a decision I've kind of decided not to do. I just don't know. I guess, obviously, a play-in game would be a round robin type thing.
There's no reason for us to
this. On Saturday,
if we don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Saturday, the Celtics play the Brooklyn Nets. I know that. And
because they won.
Right. So they play, I guess it would mean then that it's a It's a one-game deal. But the Washington Wizards on Thursday play the Indiana Pacers. So,
then it's not. It's a double elimination.
So maybe it's a double elimination type of round robin thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because you said the Wizards play another game because they lost yesterday.
The Wizards lost, but the Pacers won, and they are scheduled to play on Thursday.
Yeah, so it must be double elimination or something. along those lines.
Suppose it is. It would typically say though. Having said that, we just. QB, admit it. You and I just haven't followed it much, so we don't know. But Tatum did score 50 last night for the Celtics.
Yeah, we got people talking about who the Celtics play next, and Indiana at Washington. I understand all that, but my question is, if any of our loyal listeners understand the play-in tournament, it obviously is a double elimination deal because the teams that lost are playing again. Wouldn't it be something if the Lakers get knocked out of the play-in tournament?
Yeah, that would be something if they didn't win. I guess I don't know what LeBron's status is. He's either hurt or he's not, but I think he's playing now, so I don't think he's hurt. The Lakers are going to be, and Davis, I don't know what his status is either. I do know we had a no-hitter last night from Spencer Turnbull.
Another one?
Who played for Alabama, God forbid. And Spencer Turnbull threw the 5th no-hitter of the season last night for them Detroit Tigers. And,
that's unbelievable that they've had 5 no-hitters. We're not even at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't usually have that many no-hitters in an entire couple of years.
Or a season for sure. And we've had 5 now. So the Tigers had one last night from Spencer Turnbull, who, like I said, God forbid he played at Alabama. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's kind of odd, isn't it? I mean, it's certainly out of the ordinary. You typically won't see that. The Tigers, by the way, they were playing. He no-hit the Seattle Mariners in Seattle. That's the 8th no-hitter in Detroit Tigers history. The Tigers. I always liked the Tigers hat. That old English D they had, and black hat. It's kind of a cool uniform.
Maybe you should order one of those.
I might because of Spencer Turnbull.
Why wouldn't you?
I think that could happen. That could very well happen. Yeah.
Are you tired of living with chronic joint pain? There are new breakthrough treatments at QC Kinetics here in North Central Florida that not only alleviate your pain, they speed up the healing process. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's QC Kinetics.
Tampa Bay Rays are playing better. The Rays are playing better. They won last night. They're 5 games over 500, 1 game behind Boston in the AL East. Your leader in the AL Central is Chicago, 2.5 up on Cleveland. And in the West, it's Oakland, 1.5 on Houston, who, by the way, the Houston Astros have decided now to allow full capacity at Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas, where the Texas Rangers took the lead on this Neanderthal thinking. And according to the state of Texas, no COVID deaths.
I have a question, JC. And we will pick our regionals as we pick our golf. But back to, you said the Carolina Hurricanes had about 12,000 in their facility.
They did.
Because Duke girls softball team is one of the top 16 teams. But they have to travel to Athens, Georgia.
Strange,
because they're not allowed to host it. So it obviously is not a state.
It's a local. It was a local mandate.
It's Duke University deciding that, right?
Yeah, I would say that's probably absolutely true because Raleigh, Chapel Hill, and Durham they're very close to each other. They're very close to each other, but Raleigh is run by a different city council and so forth, and that city has decided to join in the fray for allowing fans to watch sporting events. And that's what they had in Carolina, a huge crowd with a great atmosphere. And, listen, I think as the vaccines pick up, this has got to happen. It's called reopening. And that is a factor. Every single Hurricanes player that played in that game. And meanwhile, up in Washington, D.C., they only had 4,000 or 5,000 fans when the Caps played the Bruins. The Caps lost that game. They did win the first game, but they had not even half as many fans in their arena as they'd had in Carolina's. And I think Colorado had something like 8,000 in the Pepsi Center. That holds close to about 18 or 19,000 in that arena. And, the Hurricane players themselves did say that they fed off the energy of the crowd. and they just smoked Nashville last night. And Nashville's going to probably do the same thing when that series goes back to Bridgestone in Nashville. You can bet that Bridgestone Arena will be close to capacity. The Mets lead the NL East, the Cardinals lead the Central, and the Giants, surprisingly, and the Padres are virtually tied in the NL West. That's your Major League update. But yeah, I think. Listen, so you've got the state of Texas is basically saying we're open for business, folks, and that includes the sporting events. And I think some of these, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Boston tonight for Game 3 of their series with the Caps. How many fans will be allowed in TD Garden? And in Florida, down in Sunrise, Florida, in Broward County, they had 9,000 fans for the Lightning game in Game 2. They had just over 10 in Game 1. So, some areas are allowing it, some aren't. In Canada, I don't even think those teams have played yet in their playoff series. The Canadian teams are not playing in America. They are only playing in Canada in the NHL playoffs. It's kind of strange. You call that the North.
Weird. We got a couple of Facebook Lives here. Dan says, hopefully by Super Regionals, there will be 100% capacity for these postseason softball games.
We'll see.
I hope. I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. So as I told you, we have tremendous listeners out there, JC. Our good friend Rick on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, says, here's the NBA. How the play-in games work. The 7th and the 8th place teams each – okay, hang on a second. The 7th and 8th place teams in each conference play each other, and the winner earns the number 7 seed. The loser of that game plays the winner of the 9-10 game. The winner of that game becomes the 8th seed. To give the teams that had a better record during the regular season an advantage, teams 7 and 8 need to win just one play-in game to advance, and teams 9 and 10 need to win two.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Rick is on it, I think. He's onto it. And that's why you got the Wizards playing, I guess, in one more game. I don't know.
I'm just curious why they went to that. Maybe we need to have David Stern on. He's not the commissioner anymore, is he?
No. David Stern is not the commissioner of the NBA, and Pete Rozelle is not the commissioner of the NFL. Okay.
Who's the commissioner of the NBA right now?
It's Adam.
The ball-headed guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam somebody. Yeah. I don't know how good a job he's doing, frankly. The viewership is tanked, but whatever. That's their problem.
Don't forget, we're giving away a Chomp Harder hat today. If you go to podupwithshane.com, all you got to do is put your name. They'll pull your name out of a hopper. This week, the winner goes to Jason Posey. Jason Posey, you're the winner of the Chomp Harder hat.
There it is.
Oh, man. Dan says David Stern is dead. Oh, oops. Adam Silver. Adam Silver.
I got half his name right. I got Adam right.
Yeah.
And you got that.
Rest in peace for my man, David Stern. Okay, JC.
Is dead. I think Pete Rozelle is too, by the way. All right. Are we going to pick the softball regions, or are we going to leave that?
Yeah, I got people sending stuff here about admissions to Florida State now, all kinds of stuff.
Look what you've done.
Hey, great topic. Hey, real quick, JC, before we get to that, let's talk about this day in sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. From now till May 31st, get the preventative maintenance plan for $169. Save almost 40% off the normal cost. Any maintenance scheduled between now and May 31st, you'll be entered to win a Nest thermostat with installation. Don't forget, have Comfort Temp come out. Check your AC because it's getting ready to get hot, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this day in sports, in 2019 at the PGA Championship at Bethpage.
Oh.
You know who won that?
Not off the top of my head. Help me out.
That'd be the semi. Brooks Koepka went wire to wire. Even though he went wire, he was beating them down so bad.
So,
5 of the last 8 holes and still won by 2 over DJ.
Yeah, he did bring that course to its knees because of his length, and you have to be long at Bethpage Black. So that's where Tiger won the U.S. Open and beat Rocco, I think. And his leg was hurting real badly. And that was the last major he had won before all of his turmoil started in his life. And then he won the Masters for 15. That was his 14th championship at Bethpage Black with the U.S. Open. I think it was in 06, 05, something like that. Yeah. Or 08. May have been 08.
Well, anyway, it's Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's
All right, here we go.
choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and
All right,
surrounding
are
areas.
you ready?
It's now time for the Peachland Dentistry JC and the QB weekend picks. Okay, so are we going to do golf first and then go through the 16 regions?
If you'd like to do that. Okay, let's pull up the golf. Sure, we'll do the golf first. I'm going to start. Well, I guess you get to start because you won, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with shocker, Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, no, this is your guy when it comes to the majors. You think he's going to win one eventually, and then you'll say you can be right that you picked it.
Well, he's in the top 10 every freaking
That's
major.
like saying, I live in Seattle, and I think it's going to rain tomorrow. I'm going to take Sam Burns, my guy who's on fire.
Hot LSU Tiger.
Yeah, man, I think he's tremendous. I think he's a really good player.
Well, I'm going to take another guy who's playing great golf right now, another semi, Daniel Berger.
Okay. Yeah, no, he came in third or second last, something like that. Give me Charles Schwartzel. Charles Schwartzel had a good tournament last week. He's playing better. I like Charles.
Charles Schwartzel. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, my last and final pick. My guys are basically, I don't know if Vegas pays out for top 10 finishes in about every golf tournament or every major. These dudes are in the top 10 every week. I'm going with the youngster, Victor Hovland.
Yeah, and you love picking him, and you do pretty much daily. Really tough figuring out who you like.
They cash.
I'll go with Justin Thomas.
Oh, okay. So he's only the number 2 player in the world.
Well, I've picked him in the last couple of times. So Thomas, Schwartzel, Sam Burns for me, Schauffele, Berger, Hovland for you. And that's our PGA winners. There you go.
Okay, real quick. Danny asked on Facebook Live, are you surprised Alabama got higher seed than Florida due to winning the regular season? No, I think it came down to them winning the SEC. And plus, I think Alabama had their strength of schedule, RPI or whatever was number
maybe
one.
Maybe a little tougher. Yeah, I think it was number 1. So
he's shocked JC didn't pick John Rahm. You always pick John Rahm.
I do like John Rahm. Don't know why.
Let's roll through
here we go.
The softball regionals real quick.
Number 1 seed Oklahoma. They play in a region with Morgan State, A&M, and Wichita State.
Doesn't matter. They win easily.
So Oklahoma. And then underneath that, you have Michigan, Seattle, Portland State, and Washington. I'm going to take Michigan.
I'm going to take UW. They're pissed off.
Washington is not a happy team right now. Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, James Madison, Liberty.
Ooh, I kind of want to. I'm going to pull the upset with the Dukes of James Madison.
JMU, and I'm going to take Tennessee. We've got Iowa State, UNI, UIC, and Missouri. I think we'll both take Mizzou there. Yeah, Mizzou's playing well. Then Oklahoma State, Campbell, Boston U, and Mississippi State, who was hot going into the SEC tournament.
I'm going to take Tim Walton's former assistant, Kenny Gayeski,
State,
and the Cowgirls.
I like the way they're playing, too. I agree with that one. And then we go to Oregon, Texas State, St. Francis, and Texas. Texas is the 12 seed. I'm taking Texas.
Is Oregon in that one?
Oregon is. They're 37-15. Pretty good team.
Yeah, this is the NCAA because Oregon's coach 2 years ago left them and went to Texas. I'm going to take the Ducks in an upset.
Yep, makes sense. Okay. Then we go down to the region that Duke should be hosting, but they're playing Greensboro, Western Kentucky, and Georgia in their region.
I mean, I'm going to go with Georgia. I mean,
so am
I don't think they're great, but
I don't either. I like Georgia. Maybe that young lady Fields will hit some home runs. She's good at it. Baylor, South Alabama, South Florida, and then Florida will take the Gators. So then we move across and we go to Alabama, Alabama State, Troy, and Clemson. We're going to take Alabama. I'll just do that for you. Notre Dame, Miami, Northwestern, and Kentucky, the 14th seed.
I'm taking the Lady Wildcats.
Yes, absolutely. The 11th seeded Arizona Wildcats, Baltimore County, Villanova, and Ole Miss, 34-20 on the year.
Yeah, I'll go with Arizona.
Hard to pick against Arizona and the very irritated Mike Candrea. Stanford is returning 9 sports that they had previously canceled. Did you know that?
Good for them.
Stanford. Stanford. 9 sports previously canceled, returning. So just because of that, I want Stanford, but they have – oh, no, I don't. They have South Dakota State, Manhattan, and Arkansas. I'm going the Hogs.
Yeah, take the Hogs.
Hell yeah, Hogs. Good season for them. And then we have a couple more here. LSU, McNeese, George Washington, and Louisiana. Louisiana's usually good. LSU, though, is a 7 seed.
Yeah, Louisiana could upset them, but I'll take LSU.
You're going to take LSU? Okay. We then go to Auburn, Central Florida, Florida State, and Kennesaw State.
I'm going to take the UCF Knights.
Yeah, they're a good team, but FSU is going to be my pick. Tough soccer lost for Florida State, by the way, to Santa Clara in the women's championship the other night.
That was
on Monday night. Florida State was up 1-0. Game was very late. They scored again, and they got the offsides call, the mysterious offsides. All right,
we got to roll through this. I got Eric waiting on the line here, Jason.
Arizona State, BYU, Southern Illinois, and VPI. I'll take Arizona State. And then finally, we go with UCLA, Long Beach State, Fresno State, Minnesota. That's
give
UCLA.
Me the Bruins.
All right, we got them all down.
All right, JC, we'll talk to you on Friday, my man.
You bet. Okay.
We're going to take our first time out of the pro. When we come back, we're going to be joined by former Gator baseball player and radio analyst Eric Castaldo. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Skechers, and coming summer of 2021, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors Tailgate and Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MRI Hotline. We're going to be joined by Dr. Eric Castaldo, former Gator catcher, now radio analyst with Cardozo. Good morning, Eric. How are you, my man?
I'm good, Shane. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Before we jump into Gator baseball in this big series against Arkansas, let's go back to the younger Eric, back in your high school days. What made you want to be a Florida Gator, and were there any other schools that you thought about going to play baseball for?
Well, I was actually a walk-on at Florida. The only opportunity I had to play any baseball was I had one sort of scholarship offer to Rollins. But that was really it. It was more of a kind of preferred walk-on. I grew up in Orlando. I didn't really have any interest in staying in Orlando. I wanted to go away. I grew up a Gator fan. My family moved to Florida when I was about 7 years old. And the first college football game I ever watched was watching Florida. And just my brothers and I just decided at that day, we just all wanted to be Gator fans. And so we all became Gator fans. So it was a dream of mine to come play here. And I figured I'd rather come here and try and walk on as opposed to go to anywhere else. And if I didn't make it, then I would just be a student at Florida because I love Florida that much.
Yeah, well, it all worked out. In your career, you played for both Andy Lopez and Joe Arnold. Talk briefly how they were similar and how they were different as head coaches.
So Coach Arnold was a little more kind of laid back. if you will. Both had a tremendous desire to win, right? As most coaches do, really had a great desire to win. Joe Arnold was a great recruiter and really put a lot of talent out there. But he was a little more laid back, I would say, than Lopez. Lopez is a much more fiery guy, in equal, in obviously his, desire to win and make a great program, but he was much more fiery. That was sort of the big difference, was just kind of their personality. Joe was much more laid back than Lopes was. Lopes was far more fiery.
We're speaking with Eric Castaldo here on the Titan More Hotline. You can follow Eric on Twitter at Castaldo_Eric. When you look back at McKeithen Stadium, I've had several former players on, and, I couldn't imagine them tearing the swamp down and building a new football stadium. Obviously, we needed a new baseball ballpark. Just what was that feeling like, and what is it like now when you drive through campus? It's no longer there. I mean, we all know how great the new ballpark is, but what was the feeling that Eric had once that bulldozer pulled in and started tearing it down?
Well, it was a necessary evil, I guess, if you want, probably not the best words for it, but knowing where the other programs were going with their facilities and seeing these other facilities around the country and what they were doing, you realize that Florida needed to do that, right? Because Florida's ballpark with McKeithen Stadium, it just didn't have quite the room to expand and make all these new amenities and all these things that the fans want and so forth. So there was a lot of nostalgia, and there was a lot of, like, unfortunately, it didn't quite get the send off that it wanted because of COVID, right? So that was kind of a real bummer. The last game, left a bad taste in our mouth because it was against Florida State and it was a loss, right? So, but McKeithen was going to have this great send off, and so that was probably the thing that could have sort of almost kind of upset you about it more than anything, as they were planning on a thing having old players back and so forth for the end of the year, and then all that just got thrown away because of COVID. So there was a lot of that. But with that being said, the new stadium, any little bit of nostalgia you might have for the old stadium goes away the minute you walk into the new stadium, because it's a palace. I mean, it is really gorgeous, and you just realize how far that we've come from a facility standpoint is really it's awesome. So while a little part of you dies on the inside, so to speak, because that's that was your home for 4 years. At the same time, you realize it was a necessary step in this direction for the team.
What's the one moment that stands out in your mind from your playing days that happened at McKeithen Stadium?
So actually two, I would say. My first base hit I ever had there. I didn't get any hits when I was a freshman. I played very little. So my sophomore year, my very first hit was a bottom of the ninth game-winning homer. So we beat Mercer, and it was 5-5, and I hit a foul home run on my first pitch, or excuse me, my first swing. It was a 1-0 pitch, and then the next pitch guy hung a 1-1 slider, and I hit a fair home run. And just, when I hit second base, I didn't even realize quite that I had won the game, because I was just so excited. And I hit second base, and I saw all my teammates at home plate just jumping and going crazy, and I sprinted from second all the way to home. So I would say that, and then after that, I would say, of course, an equal memory is that last out to David Eckstein on my last play ever made at the field. We beat the University of Massachusetts 12-2 to advance to the World Series, and seeing David Eckstein field a ground ball, and which I'd seen a gazillion times in practice, and throw a perfect throw over to Matt Duncan at first base. I was running over to back up Matt, and I got about halfway there, and I said, well, screw it. I'm running out towards John Kaufman and giving him a big hug, because we were on our way to the World Series. And I knew that David would be absolute money, like he always was. And so those two stand out more than anything.
Yeah, those are good times, no question. You played with some guys that really had some great major league careers. Eckstein, Mark Ellis. I want to say, gosh.
Josh Fogg.
Josh Fogg.
Yeah.
Wilkerson. Yeah. So speaking of Wilkerson, a lot of people say Wilkerson's the greatest baseball player at the University of Florida of all time. Now, a lot of people think maybe Judd Fabian could be. You get to see him on a daily basis calling games. I know Wilkerson did a lot more because he pitched as well, but which one of those do you think has the most talent?
Well, I mean, because Wilkerson was such a great pitcher, not only was he, the best hitter, not only on the team, but you could argue in the country, but he was also one of the best pitchers in the conference. He was really good. So from that standpoint, but I would say from a defensive standpoint, Judd Fabian's one of the best defensive center fielders I've ever seen. And from a pure power and bat speed standpoint, he's incredible. He's not a big guy. You look at Chris Armstrong and you go, yeah, I get why he, hits the ball so far. I mean, Chris Armstrong's hit a couple of balls that still haven't landed, but so has Judd. I mean, Judd still hit the farthest ball I've seen this year. He cleared the scoreboard in Auburn by a mile. And I mean, it was a bomb. I don't know. I wish we could know exactly how far it went, but I'm guessing it was 440, 450 feet. I mean, that thing's still going. He just has such incredible raw power and such potential. He's been a lot of fun to watch, especially how he has adjusted and changed to the way he was being pitched early in the year to what he's done now. When you look at him from what he did over the first 25 games of the year to the next 25 games of the year, it's been awesome to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yep. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. A few more minutes with Dr. Eric Castaldo. Speaking of being a doctor, it's so hard to make it into major leagues. You got a little taste of it, minor league ball, what have you. When did you decide that you wanted to be a doctor?
In between my freshman and sophomore year is when I knew that was my life path. I worked in an emergency room and just, was involved in a trauma and I was sort of like a little patient liaison, and I was just involved with a trauma, and I couldn't be there to help, and I was like, man, I got to be a part of that. I don't want to be the one on the outside. I want to be in there helping patients. And so it's just sort of that one kind of defining moment that occurs in your life. And that's what sort of ultimately spurred me on.
Yeah, it's amazing how many years you have to go to school to be a doctor. I don't know how they do it, but God bless y'all for sure. Sacrificing all those years. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this year's team. Obviously, some people call it somewhat of a disappointing year so far, although, one series to go and then to the tournament in Hoover. So it's high expectations. When you look at this team right now, do you still think they can win the College World Series?
Absolutely, they can. And to me, yeah, a lot of people have been disappointed, but I don't see why. We're 19 games over 500 and the number 9 team in the country, and we could still win the SEC championship this weekend if we were able to go up to Arkansas and sweep and get a little help. And I mean, that's all you want to be. Now, again, that's a tall task, but still, I mean, you're in the last weekend series and you still have a chance to win the regular season conference in the toughest conference in America. I mean, right now you have 5 teams in the top 10 in the country. One of those teams, right now, we're in a tie with Mississippi State for the 4 seed for Hoover. We have the tiebreaker over them right now, but right now, Mississippi State, who's top 10 in the country, might have to play a play-in game just to get into the Hoover, double elimination tournament. It just tells you how incredibly strong the conference is. I think the team's been good. We've won 7 out of our 9 series. The only 2 series we lost were on the road to South Carolina, and then we lost on the road to Tennessee. Other than that, we've been really, really good this year. And, we did lose to Miami. So I think in the beginning of the year, I think that put a lot of a bad taste in people's mouth. Preseason number 1, people forget we lost 2 guys that we were going to plan on pitching a lot in Nick Pogue and Jonathan Nesbitt early in the year and in the fall to arm injuries. So it thinned out our pitching staff, but I still think we've played really well this year. And I think there's no chance they still have a chance to take it all.
Yeah, you mentioned SEC baseball. It's ridiculous week in and week out how good it is. When you and Cardozo sit up there calling games, how much has the league changed since y'all played?
Oh, tremendously. And one of the big things is pitching. When I played and when Jeff played, you'd have 1 guy on a staff, maybe 2 that could throw 90, right? Now, you barely even make it on a staff in the SEC if you don't throw 90. We went to South Carolina. It was unbelievable. South Carolina, the guy that their Sunday starter threw 92, 93, he was the thumber on their team. Every guy on that staff threw 95 to 97. It was unbelievable. And, you might face 1 guy a year like that, but that's just not the case anymore. There's just so much difference in terms of how hard guys are throwing these days.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy. The SEC. Do you think SEC baseball is as equivalent to AAA baseball right now?
I don't know that I'd say that. I think that's going too far. But I would say the SEC baseball is definitely as good as high A and possibly even double A. But when you start making those comparisons, you got to remember those are the best of the best guys from not just America, but from all over the world. So I think AAA is a stretch. But I do think SEC baseball could be very competitive with some double A teams.
We got a text here on the Titan Mart text line. It comes from George. George says, Eric, how do you see this weekend series against Arkansas playing out?
I think it's going to be a tall task playing at Arkansas. They're really good, and they're really good at home, and they mash. They hit a lot of home runs. They're number 2 in the country. But, I think we have the capability of going up there and taking 2 out of 3. Their starting pitching has not been as good over the last 3 to 4 weeks, but they got a guy on the back end in Kevin Kopps that might be your pitcher of the year in the SEC. He's 7-0 with 9 saves. And if I'm having a vote for the pitcher of the year, I'm voting for him even over Rocker and over Leiter. He's got a 0.8 ERA. He's only given up 5 earned runs in over 55 innings this year. He's been really good. He's a guy that pitches, 3 and 4 innings at a time, sometimes twice in a weekend. So we've got to get to their starters, and we got to get to them early to avoid getting to him. But, in his career in 3 series at Fayetteville, Sully's 4-5. It's not like they're up there dominating him, and they've swept him a couple times, and he's done well up there. And I think if we can get good outings out of our starting pitcher, I don't see why we can't take 2 out of 3.
We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Meldon Law from Dan. He says, if you face that speed every weekend, I guess he's referring to what we saw at South Carolina, does it get easier to hit that if you see it every week?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, kids are throwing harder in high school than they were in my day too. So when they come up here and they're seeing guys that are throwing 92 to 94, they've seen it a lot over their career. So I think you just adjust to it. And so I think certainly when you see it every day, it just becomes a little bit more second nature.
So as you mentioned, everybody throws so hard now, especially in the SEC. Does anyone on any staff in the league, or I think of Jamie Moyer, the old crafty lefty that throws a bunch of junk, keeps it all speed. Do you think if somebody in the league was like that, could cause a lot of problems for the hitters?
Oh, I think they certainly could. And you see that not necessarily from starters, but you do see it from guys out of the bullpen, and it helps. It works. Trey Vanderwide doesn't throw the ball real hard. He throws 87 to 89 with some good off-speed stuff, and he's been very effective and good, and one of Florida's best relievers out of the bullpen. He's been very reliable. He's not a guy that throws 95. There is still a place in the game for guys like that, and Trey's a perfect example.
We got another text here. A few more minutes with Dr. Castaldo here. This comes from Jim. Jim wants to know, Eric, being a doctor, what is your schedule like being a doctor and also having to travel and call baseball games?
Well, first of all, I have a very understanding wife and someone that knows that I love doing it. I can't do a ton of travel just because of having to take call for the hospital and so forth. So the only times I've traveled this year, I just sort of had to pick my spots. They're also not allowing the analyst to travel to any of the away series that we have to fly to. So like Jeff did Kentucky and Tennessee by himself, and he's doing Arkansas by himself. So the only 2 times that I traveled this year, one time I just took a Friday off and we drove up to the Auburn, and the other one was on spring break. So I was already off anyway. And my family happened to be vacationing in South Carolina that weekend in Charleston. So that worked out really well. But, you're in here most mornings early and seeing your patients, and then you're either in the OR or in the afternoon. And sometimes, emergencies come up. Right before the Florida State game, I had an emergency come up, and I had to hustle over to pick up Jeff or to meet with him so he could drive us to Tallahassee. And fortunately was able to make that game. So, sometimes you got to sweat it. But it's really been a lot of fun and a joy, and I'm really glad they let me do it.
Yeah. Last thing before we let you go, I think right now Gators sit like number 9 in the country. Mm-hmm. What do we have to do? And is it still a chance that we can be a top 8 seed? What do we have to do?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think number one, we've got a great facility, right? And so that's going to really be helpful, because when they're evaluating these regionals, not only were they evaluating the teams, but they were also evaluating your protocols and with COVID and all that other kind of different stuff. And Florida obviously has all that stuff in place, but this is a team that's played a very good schedule. We beat Ole Miss 2 out of 3. We beat Vanderbilt 2 out of 3. Those are really good baseball teams that are also in the runnings for potential, regionals and national seeds and so forth. I think if we can go up there and win 2 out of 3, we got a national seed locked up, in my opinion. If we only win one game, then we're probably going to have to win a game, maybe 2 in the conference. But with the schedule that in the conference tournament, but with the schedule that we've played and with the number of very good teams that we've played, that'll be, think about it, it'll be 3 games against Arkansas, 3 against Ole Miss, 3 against Vanderbilt, 2 against, 3 against Tennessee, 2 against Florida State, who is also going to be a regional team. 3 against Miami. We've played a really good schedule this year. And so I think if we can win 2 out of 3, I think we'll lock up a national 8 seed.
All right. Well, good stuff, Doc. We appreciate you taking the time to join our program. And we wish the Gator baseball team a lot of luck. Hopefully we see them in Omaha. Take care, man. Appreciate it.
All right. You got it, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Yep, that's Dr. Eric Castaldo. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take our final timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this Wednesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Center State Bank's becoming South State Bank. We still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State will have 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank JC and Dr. Eric Castaldo for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, folks. We're going to have Brent Beard talking a little college football. We're also going to have our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup with the Final Four in high school baseball and softball taking place. We'll get a breakdown of what's going on there. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.